It looked like it was going to be an ugly game for Boston College, but a third quarter surge made it interesting, but in the end, not enough.
You are Locked On Boston College POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Boston, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. I'm also the host of Locked On Boston College POSTCAST, which you're listening to right now. Now, Boston College headed to Blacksburg, Virginia on Thursday night to play the Hokies at Lane Stadium. We have a lot to talk about in this game because it looked like this was going to be Bill O'Brien's first butt kicking as the head coach of Boston College. They started off extremely slow. The offense looked pathetic. The defense just couldn't stop anyone. And BC was down 28-0 at halftime. But credit to BC, they didn't go down easily. They had one of the craziest comebacks I've seen in the third quarter where they came back and were only down, by a touchdown, and were just this close to continuing to build towards what would have been a monumental comeback. But Bhayshul Tuten, BC had no answer for this guy. He rushed for over 350 yards. He had 266 yards. They rushed for 366 yards on the game. BC's defense just did not do what they needed to do. And it was turnovers and all sorts of other issues that doomed Boston College. Now, I just finished the press conference. I asked a question, and I got my first getting my butt chewed out by Bill O'Brien. It was kind of snarky, but you should go check that out if you haven't already listened to it. But what I wanted to talk about today was this game. Let's get into it. BC had to come out fast, and they did the exact opposite. They came out extremely slow, and it was out of control fast. If you look at what BC did, they got the ball first, went three. I think they got a first down and then went 3 and out after. Then they ended up punting the ball. Virginia Tech gets the ball. Chiron Drones touchdown. Then we start to see the issues pop up. We get a fumble from Thomas Castellanos that gives Virginia Tech the ball back, and I think it was inside the red zone. And Chiron Drones touchdown. Starting to look like it's going to start getting real ugly really fast. Now, BC gets the ball back later in the half, and they're driving. And this was what kind of the theme of this whole game. They were driving, and they were driving. The offense was moving at times. Like, they could get some first downs. They get inside the red zone, and they do this play that gives me agita now thinking about it, which is this slow mesh. It almost reminded me of what Wake Forest used to do with Sam Hartman. And they do the slow mesh, but he just I couldn't even tell you what he was doing, but he tried to hand it to Kai Robichaux, but then pulled it and then just fumbled it. And red zone chance gone. That was huge because BC could have made, a little bit of leeway there and cut the lead in half. They don't do that. 2 plays later or 3 plays later, Bhayshul Tuten, gone. Touchdown. 60-yard run. Didn't even get touched. That was a big issue. BC gets the ball back. They're down 21-0 now. And you go online and everyone's freaking out. And I get it. It was ugly. The offense was ugly. The defense was ugly. Everything was ugly there. It was just not working. And you're seeing as BC gets the ball back that their offensive line can't stop anybody. Like Antoine Powell Ryland, he looked like Lawrence Taylor out there at times. He's throwing Ossie Trapilo around. He's throwing Jack Conley around. He's throwing Jeremiah Franklin or Kamari Morales, Kai Robichaux. Doesn't matter who they're throwing at this guy. He's all over the place. And this guy finishes the game with, I don't even have his statistics in front of me, but he had, where is it? I got it. 4 sacks. Yeah, 4 sacks in this game. So, Donovan Azaraco, you can kiss your sack league goodbye because that's gone. BC had chances in the first half too. As I just mentioned, that first one. They also made a big play. Cam Arnold goes up and Tuten is running again. Or no, actually it wasn't Tuten. It was sorry. I think it was Kyron Drones that was running it. And he punches the ball loose. And it's recovered by Max Tucker. Feels great. Other than Cam Arnold is now hurt. And he's in the tent. He's gone. So you're replacing him with Owen McGowan. That's an issue. They go 3-and-out after that. BC gets the ball back. They cannot, as the quarters, the half is coming down. They are just, completely out of sorts. There's a fake pitch thing that goes on with Turbo Richard and Thomas Castellanos, and almost another fumble lost. So there was a lot of issues with fumbles. There was, at least in the first half, there was last I checked, there were 4 fumbles. But BC, they actually lost 6 fumbles in this. They actually had 6 fumbles hit the ground, 3 lost fumbles. That's not going to win you any games. I tweeted at one point that I think it was 5 out of the 7 last drives by Thomas Castellanos ended with a turnover. It was that desperate. It was that bad. Like, they could not get the offense doing anything. Like, just simple snaps weren't just happening. It reminded me a lot of those Jeff Hafley times where, things are just coming apart. They're just falling apart. Everything is just bad. Like, everything's bad. Like, the defense is bad. They let up 330 yards of rushing or offense in the first half. The offense keeps turning the ball over and they can't do anything. You feel like you're going into halftime and you're at a funeral. It feels like you're at a funeral because right before the half, after BC punts it again, Drones hits Tuten for a 20-yard touchdown pass over Owen McGowan because, of course, Cam Arnold's out of the game. So it's 28-0. This was the first time with Bill O'Brien as the head coach that it felt like things were getting out of control. Like, this game was out of control. You go to halftime and you just felt like this is going to get ugly fast. BC has been in many of these games with Steve Adazio, Frank Spaziani, and Jeff Hafley, and you've seen how they end up. And so if you're listening to this and you missed it, you probably went to bed. I'm assuming there's a lot of BC fans that didn't see the second half, and I don't blame you because you've seen this song and dance before. You've seen what happens to a Boston College team that just looks overwhelmed. But in a moment, I'll tell you why things got a little different and how BC was actually really close to coming back in this one. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Guys, do you ever feel like you need a boost in the bedroom? It's time you stop worrying about your performance and get Hims, so you can feel confident knowing you can stay the way you need to and stay that way whenever you're in the mood. Hims is changing men's health care by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-fueled ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. HIMS.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. Thank you all who have joined me. I hope you guys are all enjoying that, coming here and spending some time with me. I'm here to talk it out and get it through to you, like everything that's going on in this game. Because it was ugly, it was exhilarating, and then it was ugly again. That's how this game ended up going. Because the third quarter was insane. The third quarter was absolutely nuts. Because you go out of halftime and you know that Virginia Tech is getting the ball. And that whole first half, they were just moving the ball effortlessly against your defense. Like, you had no answer to anything that they were doing. So there was no reason to think that once the halftime ended that this was going to be any different. but it was. That was the crazy part. Virginia Tech ends up punting on the first down. They might have got one first down, but they ended up punting it. And you get the ball, and BC just goes right down the field, and they score on a like the play calling at the beginning of the third quarter, or most of the third quarter was great. Like you can complain about Will Long for that first half. Whatever they were doing in the second half was just clicking. And Trayshawn Ward was wide open. I could have hit him because no one was covering him. And he had a 25-yard touchdown reception. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's 28-7. That's cool. You're going to get the ball back. And I'm sure Virginia Tech is just going to score again. And that one touchdown is not going to mean anything. Well, like 2 plays later, Cameron Martinez in the red zone for BC, like their own they're in Virginia Tech's own zone, intercepts it at like the 25-yard line. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. BC then gets the ball and they score again with Jeremiah Franklin catching a touchdown pass from Castellanos. So Castellanos has 2 touchdowns in a row. All right, you cut the lead in half. Still a little bit skeptical here. Next drive, Bhayshul Tuten, who looked like Barry Sanders for most of this game, gets stripped by Donovan Azaraku, of all people, right? And it's recovered by Cameron Martinez. And another couple plays later, Kai Robichaux's in the touchdown. It's now a 7-point game. All of a sudden, that momentum that felt like 110% that it was behind Virginia Tech going into halftime has swung like the biggest swing you can think of back to Boston College. They just made up 21 points in like the span of like 5 minutes. If I look it up, yeah, it was 8 minutes was the first touchdown and 2 minutes was the last one. So within like 6 minutes, BC scored 3 touchdowns. So Virginia Tech gets the ball back. They get a couple first downs. Then Cameron Martinez, who has a fumble recovery in this quarter, an interception, comes on this blitz, a blindside blitz, and blows up Chiron Drones. And he gets a sack. And that ends that drive. So BC gets the ball back just like minutes later from when we just thought this team was dead. They get the ball back with a chance to tie the game. They were down 28-0. They're now down 28-21 with the ball. Credit to them for not rolling over and playing dead. I mean, how many times have we seen these types of games just get completely out of hand? So they're coming back. Now BC's moving the ball okay. It's now 3rd down, and Castellanos hits Kamari Morales on the side for a pass. It looked like he got stopped short and then rolled out of it to continue moving forward. I mean, I was watching and typing, so I didn't get to see the complete replay, but according to some folks, that like the replay was clear that he was down. I didn't see it, so I'm not sure. I'm not saying this was a ref issue. He was probably down, right? So he was down by 1 yard. 4th and 1, they give the ball to Kai Robichaux, and Virginia Tech's defensive line blows up the play. They turn it over. A couple plays later, they're scoring again. It's a 14-point lead. That was the game right there. If BC gets that first down and drives and scores, who knows how the momentum would have continued shifting. Like BC had all the momentum in the world right there. They were like Thomas Castellanos went into this game saying he was going to quiet Lane Stadium. He did that in the third quarter after a miserable first half. But it was that play that didn't do it. And for the folks that are going to jump on it, for the 30th time, BC does not go under center. Thomas Castellanos, I think Mitch has looked into this, Mitch Wolf, our Vigo insider, that Castellanos has not gone under center, I don't think ever, since high school. Like even in high school, he never did it. So you are asking him to do this kind of thing that would never happen. They did what they thought would work. You had Robichaux. They thought it was going to work. So they're not going to magically, I'm going to tell you guys, you're going to yell and scream about this. It's frustrating, but BC has 2 sets that they go with, shotgun and pistol, and they're both with the quarterback lining up. That's just how it works. And a lot of times it works with Castellanos in that offense, but sometimes it doesn't. And it didn't work there. And so the lead just falls apart from here. BC gets the ball back down 14 now. They drive again, and this is the quote I got yelled at by Bill. I asked him. I said, they get down to the red. Was it red zone or it was close enough? Down 14, and it was 4th down, and they went for a field goal instead of going for it. I asked him. I said, "What was kind of going in your thought process about that?" And he got a little bit snippy with me and said, I probably, we probably should have just gone for it, blah, blah, blah. He goes, "You're right down, AJ, right that I was wrong." And I'm like, okay, whatever. But, it is with the special teams, the way they've been playing on in all aspects, I probably would have gone for it because a field goal against that offense is not going to do anything. Like, they're scoring touchdowns. They're not playing field goals here. You got to go for it. It was 4th and 13, I think Mitch was telling me. But that was it. They screwed up the snap. It was a horrible snap on that field goal. And, they got sacked. They scored again. And it was 42-21. So the final score does not reflect, in my opinion, the game that was played. You are what you are. You are what the final score is. But I think what we're talking about here is a team that did not roll over and play dead. That you have to also credit the fact that they look like absolute garbage for the first half. I mean, this has been an issue with BC, right? Like, you go to Michigan State, they played bad in the first half. Not this bad. They played pretty poorly for 3 quarters against Western Kentucky. They played bad last week in the second half. It's an execution issue, though. I know everyone likes to go with, it's coaching. And yeah, some of the play calling you can complain about, but a lot of this is execution. Like, Will Lawing is not there screwing up a snap between Thomas Castellanos and Kai Robichaux. That's a play that they've done a lot. They do those kinds of plays a lot. That was on the players. You have to, at times, you have to call a spade a spade. When a player screws up and does that, that's on the player. The player did that. The coaches are not doing that. They're calling the play that has been working for them. And when the players can't execute, that's an issue. And maybe you could say that maybe the coaches have to coach them up more to execute. And Bill is great in falling on his own sword if you talk to him about this stuff. But when they're making mistakes like that, that's on the players. And some of these issues where they didn't know where to hike the ball. I mean, to hand off or who's holding on to the ball at certain times. Some of that's on the players. You got to call it as it is. And I think folks were seeing that. Like, that first half, I thought a lot more anger towards Thomas Castellanos than I've seen in a long time. And I'm a big fan of him, but I agree. Like, he just had a miserable first half. So that's on them. And, I think we'll wrap things up in a moment talking about, what are some lessons that we learned from this game? What are some things that we're going to take away? We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you play your live bets. Now, on yesterday's Locked On BC, Mitch and I gave our predictions, and I think it was an 8.5-point spread. I picked BC to lose this one 35-14. So they lost by, I said they were going to lose by 21. Hey, they lost by 21. So I was pretty close. I got the spread down there, right? I didn't give enough credit to scoring, but you can make your own bets on FanDuel as well. So make sure you check them out. Get yourself started with a $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And that's on FanDuel.com. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black, and we're wrapping things up here, talking about this game between Boston College and Virginia Tech. BC has lost now 2 in a row, and Bill O'Brien was not happy after the game. Just going to put that out there. He says he's got to coach better. They got to be more consistent. All the stuff that you expect him to say. No moral victories for Boston College. I think that's a very clear message that we're getting, is that, yeah, it was great they came back, but they still lost. and a loss is a loss. So, what are some takeaways from this? BC's defense is starting to get me. I mean, when you play like this, it's worrisome because of a few reasons. You have some other really good running backs coming up. Bhayshul Tuten's very good. He's probably one of the best in the ACC. But you're playing against Louisville and their Isaac Brown next week, and he's very, very good. So you're going to have some of those same issues next week against a guy like him. You're also going to have to play Amarian Hampton for UNC, LaQuint Allen from Syracuse. They've got some good running backs coming up. You're going to have to figure out how to stop that because you can't be giving up 300 plus yards and rushing and expect to win. Another lesson learned from this: BC has to figure out how to play 4 quarters. They played half footballs for a while. They played 1 quarter of like dynamic football today, and the rest was garbage. That's not going to win you games. You got to be able to play more consistently, and O'Brien has really preached that. And in addition to that, you can't keep turning the ball over like that. Like BC's defense has been very good at returning the favor. Like I think they had 3 or 4 turnovers in this game, which kind of wipes out what Castellanos was doing. But it'd be nice to have those turnovers not turn the ball over yourself. So that was a big issue. I thought the offense was pretty good for major portions of this game. Castellanos, once he calmed down, was better, but it wasn't enough. When you're giving up 360 rushing yards, you're going to lose, and that was a big issue. But I think my overall last take in this game is, as I said, they got to play better. Starting us off, you cannot stop. You can't fall behind 28-0 to any team. You just can't. But if they can clean that up, get more consistent, this team could be okay still. I was impressed that they, again, as I said earlier, were 1 inch, 1 yard. I mean, Kai got hit further back, but they were 1 yard away from potentially working on a drive to tie this game. That seemed impossible. And that's a credit to the players that they didn't give up, that they didn't quit when they absolutely could have. And they fought through it in a tough situation, right? Like you're playing at Lane Stadium against Virginia Tech. That's tough. They did all that, and it just wasn't enough, right? Who knows if they scored there, what would happen? But credit to the players at that point for not giving up. So rushing defense needs to get better. Castellanos needs to be more consistent. But the heart of this team, I still can't question that. Thank you all so much for listening. It's a late night, and I'm glad you all came and joined me. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button here on the Locked On Boston College POSTCAST so that you're getting all my shows. We still have 5 more games left and hopefully a bowl, and I'll be doing all these live. So if you like it, if you like to hear my initial thoughts after a game, I hope you join us, and we'll be doing this more often. Thank you all for listening to Locked On Boston College POSTCAST, your team every day.